by Councillors Devine and Hughes. We also have an amendment from Councillors Gilmour, seconded by Councillor McMillan. Do we have any other amendments? No other amendments? Councillor Nicolson?
It's not an amendment, Provost. It's a direct negative to the motion.
Okay. Your seconder is Jacqueline? Councillor Michelle Campbell. Okay, Councillor Devine.
Thanks, Provost. This charge was introduced. Do you want me to read out the motion or let people know?
That's okay.
Okay.
Speak to your motion.
This charge was introduced because for over a decade, local councils have been underfunded by the Scottish Government. Rather than fight for a fair funding deal for Renfrewshire, the SNP councils have sat in silence and pushed the burden onto residents, increasing charges across the whole range of council services, whether that be in planning, for car parking, for social care services, taking more and more money from our elderly and disabled. No one is exempt from the SNP scrambling about trying to balance the budget, and all the while saying nothing about the persistent underfunding of local authorities. Some of us can remember when this council under the SNP tried to charge adults who attended daycare centres for £2.50 for the bus journey. The only thing that stopped them was they were told that they were implementing an illegal charge. The argument that this charge is progressive is wrong-headed. Members of the administration have defended it on the basis that wealthier people have gardens. While wealthier people tend to live in larger houses, they also pay more in council tax. We are still waiting for the SNP to make good on its manifesto pledge for 16 years to scrap the hated and unfair council tax. But many people have gardens who do not live in particularly large houses. Many are council tenants. They are hit with this charge introduced not at a time of plenty, but introduced during cost of living crisis, where many families are choosing between heating and eating. We all want our neighbourhoods to look good, but we want people to tend their gardens, and we want to support our residents to support us to meet our climate change targets. We can only do this if there is a collective effort from everyone working together. But the council charging residents to dispose of their gardening waste and justifying it because it is a non-statutory service only acts as a disincentive. And to say people can dispose of their garden waste at civic amenity sites, what do they say to those who do not have cars? How do they get there on the non-existent bus services? And those that do have cars, the miles they do going back and forward with their garden waste, what does that do to the environment? This service was provided as part of the mainstream council services paid for out of grant and council tax income. It was introduced at the same meeting that the council increased council tax by 6%. So the council told people to pay more and get less. It's time for the council to think again, scrap this garden tax and start supporting rather than punishing our residents. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes?
Formal seconder.
Okay, I think you've already been sent the amendment from Councillor. I can't remember who it was. Councillor Gilmour? Councillor McMillan? Have you received it? Can you let me know? Councillor Gilmour?
Thank you, Provost. The amendment is Council agrees to scrap bin charges for charities and churches next financial year, and additionally to carry out a review of brown bin charges. Councillor Devine and Councillor Hood wish to bring forward a balanced budget that excludes a charge for domestic garden waste, as we and Labour did in 2022-23, then they are liberty to do so. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you. Councillor McMillan?
Thanks, Provost. As members will remember, we in the Labour group voted against this brown bin permit issue back in March, and we continue to have real concerns about it. Now, we know that Tuesday. I think the Scottish Government announced their budget, and we'll know, well, hopefully we'll know at that time, although I suspect it will take several weeks to know exactly what it will mean for council. So I think at some point we'll really need to look at this £40 charge. But the big issue for me is the charge for churches and charities. We tried to move a motion against that just shortly after the budget, and it was knocked out on a technicality. So we never really got a chance to discuss it. Now we all know that the job charities and churches do in the area. Churches are not just a place of worship; they do lots and lots of work in the community. And I certainly know of one charity. Although the charge was introduced in March, they didn't know about it until October, and then they were hit with a bill for £5,000, which was devastating for that particular charity. So I think that's really something we really need to look at, as charities and churches and indeed the general population suffer as a result of the cost of living. We need to do our bit to support these charities and churches who do so much in our communities. A lot of it goes unpublicised and unheard of, but the amount of work they do is incredible. And if they didn't do it, who would pick up that slack? It would be us here in the council. So I'm quite happy to move the amendment, or second amendment.
McMillan. Councillor Nicolson.
Thanks, Provost. The administration is happy to support the Labour amendment with a specific remit to review, and with, as I say, specific remit with to review charges to churches and charities as well as part of that early next year. I think that's a sensible and appropriate way to approach it, because it'll be in operation for a while. And then if elected members are getting incidences that are happening which maybe shouldn't be happening, I think it's worth to have that review carry out and then give a commitment specifically to the impact that's been felt by churches and charities as part of that policy. So we're happy to do that. We just don't want to prejudge it at this point with scrapping the charges. But I think, given what the information we get today, that I'll give a commitment today. That's a specific area of work that we'll look at with regards to that particular sector. I won't be too long to respond to Councillor Devine's comments, but earlier today he came in on an item about the council's budget, and I took a note of it. He is asking about no compulsory redundancies. Now, I had a meeting recently with trade unions, and again, I reiterated the commitment for this administration about protecting jobs and services is key. That's what trade unions want to see from us as well. And to do that, we need to get the council's budget balanced up. And I think anybody in this room who's operating at any sensible level of politics understands that. We are working in an environment we can't easily change. We have to work within it, and we have to make decisions similar along to many other councils that make the same decisions with regards to brown bin permit schemes, etc. And I know he tries to reiterate this some sort of charge or a levy, but it's not. It's an opt-in service for individuals. And at this point in time, with 28,400 people signed up to permits, it brings an income in just now of £1,071,000. We can't afford to prioritise hedge clippings over jobs. We can't afford to we have to prioritise services. We have to prioritise the jobs of our employees. Those people who deliver those services, they're all key in the same thing. So I'm just saying to Councillor Devine, he has a luxury of coming along and putting things on this table, which he knows in his own heart has to be done in order to make sure that we continue to deliver the services that people in Renfrewshire want. And that will continue for a number of years. As I say, so we're happy to have a review of it. I think that's sensible. I think it's wise. I says, but we really need to start being serious about the decisions we have to make. And again, to reiterate the point, it's about protecting jobs and protecting the services. That's what we're all about. I don't know what Councillor Devine thinks, but that's what we're all about. He can't have his cake and eat it. I says, because some people have to make serious decisions, and that's the job of this council at the end of the day, Provost. So I just want to leave you those points, Provost, but as I say, we're happy to accept the Labour amendment and support it with regard to reviewing the introduction of the brown bin permit scheme. Thanks.
Okay. Can I just ask then that would that require an amendment to the wording of the motion by councillors Gilmour and McMillan? Yeah, I think it would, because it's asking councillor Grace to scrap bin charges for charities and churches. So what you're saying is we'll review it. Yeah.
Thank you, Provost. On my reading of the proposed amendment by councillors Gilmour and McMillan, if they were to accept what councillor Nicolson is saying, it would delete the words to scrap through to carry out. So it would actually read as council agrees to carry out a review of brown bin charges. And the indication would be that that would come back at some point at the start of or sometime in the next financial year. If councillors Gilmour and McMillan are not prepared to accept that, then that would require to be an alternative amendment suggesting the change of the wording.
Okay, I'll just get councillor Chris Gilmour to come in and confirm that he's okay with that.
Happy to accept that, Provost.
Okay, councillor Gilmour. Okay, councillor James MacLaren.
Thank you, Provost. Interesting to see this item today. It does concern me when I hear about brown bins that aren't being emptied, or perhaps they're missed or maybe partially emptied. That's really not acceptable when residents are paying for a service. A number of people have been complaining to me about this. I'm aware that freezing conditions can have an effect, but I don't think it's been that cold. So I think we need to sharpen up on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. I'm sure those who needs to will take that on board. But if anyone has any problems with constituents having their bins emptied, please take it up with the department. If they don't know, they can't sort it, so please do that. Okay, so we'll go to the vote then. Oh, councillor Neil Graham, sorry Neil. Is that a wee last minute hand there?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Provost. Just like to have a quick word on it. I fully support the Conservative group. Fully support the motion by councillors Devine and Hood. The garden tax has proven to be a disastrous policy, with many residents in my ward now putting their garden waste in grey bins, and this waste is now not being recycled. Council tax has surged in recent years since 2017, and this policy should not be included in residents' council. It should be included in residents' council tax fees. Residents in my ward in Ralston and Whitehall should not be penalised for this administration's bad financial decisions. It's time to scrap this extra tax on people who have gardens. Thank you.
Okay, councillor Michelle Campbell.
Thank you very much, Provost. This matter of the permit, which is not a tax, it's for a service that isn't part of, the legislation is not there. Where there is legislation, we do cover those services. And as an administration, we have made sure that the leadership and rationale for any decision that we have to make has been very, very clear. I am welcoming of the amendment that's been brought forward by Labour. I think it's been sensible, reasonable, rational, as I always do with any amendments through the board. However, in an earlier item, we were talking about the potential position of this council, and councillors, not just in this meeting, but in several other meetings throughout the board cycle, which members of the public are free to go and see online, continually express their viewpoints about the concern about the essential services, about best protecting frontline services, about the impacts on poverty and essential services. These are key terms that we hear. When I speak to members of the public, do you want to know what the core of what most people say who are reasonable, rational, people who I would say work hard, are feeling the brunt currently of their bills at the moment? They want to see that people who are hit the hardest are protected. They want to see their roads repaired. They want to see their bins getting collected. They want to see education that their kids can go to and do better, because that's what any parent or carer is going to want for their loved ones. And they want to see community services where they can, improve, such as our libraries modernising. They want to see a modernised council service. That is something that this administration is absolutely committed to. And as the convener for ILE, I am absolutely committed to as well. And if that means that we have to make decisions such as this, where as the convener, I can tell you right now that I am not getting lambasted with emails on a day-to-day basis of people being outraged about the permit scheme. I get thanked for the decisions that we're having to make and trying to be sensible and reasonable about it. Now, I'm not saying everyone will agree with that. There have been one or two, but I always make it very clear the position of this administration and myself as the convener as to why we're making those decisions. And the comeback on giving a rational response is zero. So I fully support the comments made by the leader today, and I thank Labour for their amendment and for the sensible approach that's been taken with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Jim Patterson.
Many thanks, Provost. I agree with Councillor Campbell and Nicolson about the Labour amendment taking a sensible view and not trying to blow a massive hole in a budget mid-year, which would be fairly disastrous for other services. And I look forward, if we're talking about financial mismanagement, fair enough, if that's we want to have levied that, is I look forward to seeing the Conservative and Independent budget, the budget meeting, which is going to remove this charge, how they're going to pay for it and what service they will reduce to pay for it. And I don't think this can be categorised as some kind of SNP concoction. This has been in place in councils all over Scotland prior to us introducing it from councils of all political persuasions, because in reality it's one of the few places we have left to go. I mean, it's as simple as that. I don't think anybody stood for election a year and a half ago thinking, no, I can't wait till I get in till I can charge 40 quid for a brown bin. I don't know, that's not what motivates me in the morning, but there's a reality to this financial decision, and I think to try and make out that it's something that we've cooked up in this council ourselves to somehow kind of punish people with gardens is just absolutely fanciful nonsense. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Okay, we'll go to the vote then. No, sorry, it's up. I apologise.
Thank you. You'll not be surprised to say I'm not going to take any of the amendments from anybody, but I mean, the Labour, well, what purports to be a Labour Party now, says that they will, that we should scrap it. Then Councillor Nicolson quite rightly says no, will no, and then quite rightly, or I didn't say quite rightly, but as I would expect that the Labour Party go, no problem, Ian, we'll change our wording to suit you. It's just typical of this Labour group. They've got no guts, nothing. They don't support. That's all right. I'll say it to you. I have said it to his face, and I'll say it again to the rest of them. They've got no guts. They'll stand up for nothing. They don't want any hassle. I respect Ian Nicolson more than any of that group, because at least he stands up and he says what he thinks. The rest of them will be moulded by whatever Ian Nicolson wants. So let's go to the vote.
Okay, what's the vote?
Thank you, Provost. It's a roll call vote. We have a motion by Councillor Devine, seconded by Councillor Hood, and an amendment by Councillor Gilmour, seconded by Councillor McMillan, which has further been altered as a result of the amendment by Councillor Nicolson. Could councillors confirm whether they are voting for Councillor Devine's motion or Councillor Gilmour's amendment? Councillor Adam.
Amendment.
Councillor Ellie Nicolson.
Amendment.
Councillor Ann-Dowling.
Amendment.
Councillor Burns.
Amendment.
Councillor Jacqueline Cameron.
Amendment.
Provost Cameron.
Councillor Gilmour's amendment.
Councillor Campbell.
Amendment.
Councillor Clark.
Amendment.
Councillor Davidson.
Amendment.
Councillor Devine. Councillor Andy Doig.
Amendment.
Councillor Audrey Doig.
Amendment.
Councillor Gilmour.
Amendment.
Councillor Grady.
Amendment.
Councillor Gillian Graham.
Amendment.
Councillor Neil Graham. Councillor Gray.
Motion.
Councillor Hood.
Motion.
Councillor Hughes.
Amendment.
Councillor Innes.
Amendment.
Councillor Leishman,
Motion.
Councillor McFarlane,
Amendment.
Councillor James MacLaren,
Motion.
Councillor Kenny MacLaren,
Amendment.
Councillor Mags MacLaren,
Amendment.
Councillor McCulloch,
Amendment.
Councillor MacDonald,
Amendment.
Councillor McEwan,
Amendment.
Councillor McGonigle,
Motion.
Councillor Maguire, Councillor McGurk,
Amendment.
Councillor McMillan,
Amendment.
Councillor McNaughton,
Amendment.
Councillor Montgomery,
Amendment.
Councillor Mullen, Councillor Mylett,
Amendment.
Councillor Nicolson,
Amendment.
Councillor Patterson,
Amendment.
Councillor Rodden,
Amendment.
Councillor Shaw,
Amendment.
Councillor Smith,
Amendment.
Councillor Steele, Councillor Hannigan has voted for the amendment. I have 7 for the motion, 36 for the amendment. The amendment is carried.
Okay, just to let you know that the children have arrived. They're just getting toilet breaks just now. They'll be here soon. So what I'm proposing to do is leave motion 2 and take motion 3 first. Get that done. And then we'll do motion 2 after the children have sang. Is that all right with everyone? Yeah. Okay. Well, motion 3, item 10 in the agenda is a motion from myself and Councillor McEwan. It explains here what the motion is about. Agreed. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so we'll just break just now and wait for the children coming in.
Go on,
11.